People will pay for convenience and they will pay for comfort.
Absolutely.
And when I was able to dial that back to the trades, AC goes out, they call it in the dark of the night. In the early Sunday morning, the AC goes out. That is an entire problem. You can't flush toilets. That is a whole nother problem. If the electricity gives you some problems, people are looking in their phone and in their Rolodex, and they need to have point people. They're just almost as equally as important as first responders.
I am Amelia the Realtor, and welcome to Happily Ever Sold. This is where we talk all things real estate. Hello, everyone. This is Amelia the Realtor here, and welcome to Happily Ever Sold. This is the place where we talk about everything real estate, from buying to selling, renting, and investing. We combine all that information and we have one conversation. So today I want to start out with some statistics. So I read earlier this week, as I was preparing for my wonderful guest today, that it says 9% of general contractors in the United States are women. And of that 9%, 3.4% are African American. Now, when I read that, I kind of did like a double take, because I was like, what? Like 9% in a county, right? And then I read again and I'm like, wait, 9% in a city? No, 9% in the United States. So with that being said, and it's Black History Month, I feel like I have a little bit of Black history with me here today. And I am pleased to welcome my guest, Miss Ladi Goldwire.
Oh, wow.
She is here. She is the founder and CEO of BrinMar Construction Group. She's a general contractor. She's handling her business. Like I have always said, I bring the experts to you guys. So today we're going to be diving into the realm of construction, being a GC, a bad GC at that, and just how that even plays into the home buying process and so much more. Lady, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I don't even know how to follow up that amazing introduction, and those statistics are mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling,
yes,
for sure. So we're just going to jump right on into the conversation.
Okay.
So tell me, like, when I was younger, growing up, I played with Legos.
Okay.
I did. I'd like to get my little Lego game on and this and that. But personally, like, never have I even thought about diving into the realm of construction. So I have to know, where did this come from? How did you get started in this male-dominated industry? But not for long, because see, the information is coming out now. So our little girls are going to be putting on hard hats instead of tiaras.
Say that.
All right.
All right.
So how did you get there?
Well, it's interesting. I like to believe that I got into construction because it was integrated into my DNA. On both sides of my family, my grandfathers were builders or to some degree involved in the trades, but obviously just based on, limitations that were placed upon them, there was only so far that they were going to go. Having said that, when I was first introduced to construction, it was by my father. I was a tag-along daddy's girl. He was a block mason and was a foreman for quite a few prominent general contractors here. I believe at that time it was Lee Wolfhagen. Jack Vogel was one. That company was still around, and Berg and DeVosta. It's now since split to DeVosta Homes. And my father worked for them and worked his way up into the ranks relative to their field activity. And I would tag along on the weekends. I would tag along on late nights. And he would always talk to me about this concept of being a general contractor, but he never talked to me as if it was possible for me. He would tell me how great it would be to work for a contracting company or a construction company, and I would make a great bookkeeper or whatnot.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't even think he meant to be limiting, but because he was dealing with his own limitations, And he was probably very much aware of some of the statistics, even though they didn't exist then, but it was just that far of a reach.
Right.
He figured it'd be a heavy lift. So he always kind of insulated the notion that I could do this thing. But I would watch him on payroll day, pick up checks and maneuver logistically around the sites and whatnot. And I was like, I want to do that. And then he got outside of the industry, left it because it was a, every time in the construction industry, you have these periods of ebb and flow. It was the late 80s. And, my mom was very, very insistent that he needed something a little bit more consistent.
Stable.
Yes. And so while he made extraordinarily good amounts of money in the industry, he was 80,000 back then. That's a lot of money.
That was a lot of money.
He was way past the middle class mark. He ended up going and working for local municipality where we're born and raised, Riviera Beach. So it was a major cut.
Yes.
But benefits. And that meant the most to my mom. But he always still had this longing to be engaged in general contracting in a major way. One day, just kind of seeing him pursue the books, he went and bought his own books and whatnot. He looked at him. He was overcome by it. Felt like it was a bit overwhelming. He stayed the course at the city. He ultimately ended up retiring. But I never lost sight of the fact that that was something he wanted. And once I realized that it was a process that I could navigate and potentially conquer, I kind of went for that. If I am truthful with regard to one of these secondary reasons for getting into it, it just looked like a very, very quick way to make up some ground. I had my children very early. And college, while I had attempted it and tried it, it just wasn't feasible. It wasn't something that I had the bandwidth to actually do and do well, raising 3 children and being so young myself. But vocation and trade seemed to be super viable even back then. And it seemed like I could get light years ahead of, or at least catch up to a lot of my counterparts who had the benefit of being able to go to college and have those experiences and ultimately provide for their families. And so it was twofold.
Yes.
But it's a decision that I don't regret, because getting into that industry, being into this industry, planting some roots has put me in a position where my life looks really, really different.
That's awesome. And I love what you said about vocation and trade, because we're seeing it a little bit more now, and like probably over the last few years now more than anything, especially with how the pandemic has shaped what a 9-to-5 job looks like and that whole thing. You really haven't seen it. It's been more focused of go to college. You go to high school, then you go to college, you get a college degree, and then you step out into the workforce.
Right.
People weren't teaching. I mean, I graduated from high school in the late 90s. That's all I'll say about that. And it wasn't a lot of talk about trades.
This is true.
I mean, they had home economics, and they had shop. Everybody remember building, whatever was it, the bird houses and different things.
The napkin holders,
sewing aprons and things. But it was not a lot of education about, hey, if you feel like maybe just the regular college is not your scene, take a look at trades. I'm thankful now that you are able to see more of that even in a high school setting, and with some of the magnet programs and specialty programs. But I love how, you were even thinking about that back then, and even saying that, hey, it allowed me to even catch up to those that had college degrees. Yep. That's huge.
Catch some and pass some. I mean,
come on, pass.
And I want to be humble down in that statement by saying when you're a single mom, you're trying to raise kids, you want to make sure that you bring your A game. You're often looking at those around you who may have at the time made choices that seemingly appear to be a little bit more wholesome, that had a little bit more value to them. A lot of times we are conditioned into believing that, that you can make the wrong choice. And then you start shaping yourself up in the decisions that you make thereafter around just trying to fortify yourself and reinvent yourself. And I spent a lot of time in that space. But when I saw that, and really got my head wrapped around the understanding that people will pay for convenience and they will pay for comfort.
Absolutely.
And when I was able to dial that back to the trades, AC goes out, they calling. In the dark of the night, in the early Sunday morning, the AC goes out.
That's
That
it.
is an entire problem. You
Yes.
can't flush toilets. That is a whole nother problem. If the electricity gives you some problems, people are looking in their phone and in their Rolodex, and
That's
they need
it.
to have point people. They're just almost as equally as important as first responders.
Oh,
And
yes.
so when, that set of circumstances has never changed. It's consistent. It was consistent back then. It's going to be consistent now, and it's going to be consistent moving forward. Trying to just nestle my way in that space and getting a really good firm handle on, okay, I can make some really, really good money if I just figure out how to, certify in these roles. If I can figure out how to establish and put together a business that will help me support myself and my family, I can possibly or potentially do all right. And that has been kind of the space that I've landed in. And it's
Yes.
been trade and vocation that's given me that ability.
Absolutely. And I'm a single mom as well. And so, and what I know all single moms know, it's you are plan A and plan B. So like
C,
when
D, and E.
and then all of them after that. So it's you have to. When you talk about A game, you have to, because tag, you're it.
That's it.
You are it. You are who the children are looking for everything. There's no excuses.
Listen, children, you're raising them. They think lights come with the house. They think water comes with the house. They think food in the refrigerator just
Money
comes
grows
with the
on
house.
trees.
And I mean, I said that I wasn't a money tree so frequently till I started believing it. I had to actually walk back a lot of that conversation just to kind of shift some stuff in the universe.
Right.
So, I moved from a space of, okay, money doesn't grow on trees and I'm not a money tree, to, you know what? Let me see how much financial stability I can manifest in the universe. So I started shifting the children and their asks, because sometimes they were impossible. At least I thought they were. But I started using them as goal markers for me. Okay, they want this. Getting them to understand that I kind of raised my children a little differently, in the space that I needed them to be hardworking, and I needed them to understand the laws of compensation. You got to give a little to get a little.
Yes.
But I also didn't want them to feel like they had to engage in life in this kind of nose to grind type of space.
Correct.
You got to earn everything. I think that
it's okay to have luxury.
Yeah.
And want to have luxury.
Because us, for whatever reason, in our makeup, in our being brought up and brought forth, our parents were taught that they had to work hard and they have to earn everything. We've got to work and do good deed for good mark. I think it put a lot of pressure on us. And that is where a lot of the conversation started to come into play with regard to abandoning things that really sustained us as a society and as a people in the past, farming.
Yes.
And having the ability to work with your hands, carpentry, welders, all of those things that were really, really critical in building up a group of people in the 30s and the 40s who were prominent.
Right.
Then we started shifting and we started talking about earning and going to college and getting a whole bunch of degrees, which is great. But then emphasis dialed back on being able to produce, being able to, see what could come out of the works of just your hands.
Your hands, absolutely.
I'm like you said, you brought a good point. It's beautiful to see more conversation being had about revisiting that space, because I believe that is where we'll find a lot of our financial freedoms. I think they're nestled right there in that space if we just go back and revisit those conversations.
Absolutely. It takes a shift in the mindset. And even when you were saying about the legacy that your father started and the seed that he implanted in you, you didn't stick with, he was saying one thing, but you didn't allow your mind to stay in that space.
Right.
And so like we were speaking of earlier before we started, even with home ownership, like now I'm talking to my aspiring homeowners. You may have grown up being in a rental situation where all you know is that you were renting a space. Mom and dad or aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, they were renting. They paid rent every month. But that doesn't mean that that's what you're destined to do.
Right.
Take yourself out of that. That was for them at that frame of where they were in life, and that's totally okay.
Right.
But you have the ability to shift your mindset, and I'm going to use the word that Lady said because it's important, and manifest something different for your life.
Absolutely.
It's putting your mind, making that goal list, and then working toward it, doing the work, educating yourself.
I come across a lot of individuals because I have a whole lot of conversation with people on my day to day about, they are renting and they have just decided that they don't want to own a home, but they want to own property. And so we venture off down the conversation of that being okay and talking about all of the possibilities, and it's still the same process.
Right.
A lot of people don't even realize that sometimes it's easier to acquire and finance multifamily properties, or 2-3 doors at a time as opposed to just one, because you get this benefit with the multifamily properties of whether or not they're occupied, if they're doors that you can ultimately affix leases to. You can take those, you can the bank will make consideration for the income that you would get from those units prior to them being occupied. And so, for example, you may have a quadruplex that has 4 doors, and they're looking at the fact that you're going to be living in one, but 3 of them you may have that you are ultimately going to lease
generate income from.
Right. You've got $3,000 of the rent. We know it's not happening at this stage in the game, but at $1,000 a month, you've got $3,000 for the 3 doors.
Yes.
They multiply and bump up the income that you have with regard to what you qualify for, and they'll make consideration for the fact that you've got $36,000 that's not really there for you to work with.
And what I love about multifamily too is that that's even something that you can do with a group or a partnership.
Absolutely.
And so I don't even know if we think about that enough. I know we think of it in a form when we talk about ownership, it's always just one, me or myself and my partner, or spouse or whatever. But a multifamily is a great way if you have, your circle of girlfriends or a circle of friends. You're like, hey, we may as an individual may not be able to do this.
But we can put these little coins together and we can do this.
Come on.
It happens all the time. I never put a lot of emphasis on the social media forums, but growing up with children who have just, they're light years ahead of me with regard to, but watching the TikToks and the Instagram channels, and you seeing these younger kids, these millennials who are acquiring properties at astronomical rates, and the amount of knowledge they have by just going out, getting their feet wet and trying it. Whereas we've always been, the generation before them, we've always been a little apprehensive. We got to be able to touch it, see it, feel it before we're willing to jump out.
Know it's already been done.
You've got to see proof. These kids are moving in a direction where they believe and understand that the inner them is always rooting for them to win.
Absolutely.
And it's beautiful to watch them as they move towards home ownership or owning property altogether. And I like the fact that you've set up a forum to be able to educate people in such a way that it can start to tear away at some of the doubt barriers that exist, because a lot of people, buying a house is hard work, but it's not impossible. It's work that you're investing in yourself. And so it's something when you get to the end of it, you get an opportunity to you look at it and say, wow, I did that. With regard to home ownership, you run into bumps along the way, in just full transparency. I bought my house, had a great job, lost the job, I wasn't there at the house 12 months before I was facing foreclosure, ultimately had to file bankruptcy to do it and figure out really constructive ways to salvage it. But when I purchased my home, I purchased it, and in overnight, the equity increased like $300 and some odd $1,000 just because of where we are now.
Yes.
So a lot of times, you can encounter these unfortunate circumstances of which you can always bounce back from.
Yes.
But having the homes and these purchases in your arsenal, they always put you in a space of being able to win. If you've just got access to great advice, wise counsel, and you
Yes.
seek it, I think that people should make it a point to at least educate themselves on the benefits of
Absolutely.
transitioning into ownership.
And I want to ask a question,
Sure.
because that is those parts of home ownership where, because every day is not a cakewalk,
No.
right? So
No.
even you've done all this work, you've closed, you have the keys, that's great. Things shift, things change, money change. Sometimes it looks a little funny, and you're still responsible for this.
Especially if you're an entrepreneur, it will.
Yes. So tell me, when you were in that situation, and you're a strong woman, but I'm gonna ask you to answer this question for someone who
And just inserting, I think I appear to be stronger. I can assure you that every seam where there is a breakthrough, I guarantee you, I probably fall apart more than the average person.
Okay. we hear you. Okay, we're clear. But I want to know, when you were at that space, here you are, new home, now you're facing foreclosure, going through that process. Now it's like, okay, Lord, it wasn't supposed to look like this. Can you speak to the person that has been there? Maybe they did have to foreclose, and now even the fact of them buying again or owning again terrifies them, or they're embarrassed and they don't even know how to step back into that arena.
Well, the first thing I would say is I don't think there's ever any room for, and it happens because I have fallen victim to it, but I always remind myself that people don't have a heaven or hell to put me in at the end of the day. Understanding that I had everything it took within me, through the grace of God, to be able to do it once, has demonstrated to me that whenever it presents itself again, the opportunity that is, I can do it again. You know what I mean? And so that was always what I was saying to myself. Okay, so long as I don't lose my mind, and so long as I don't lose my will, if I lose the house, I can do this again. And I said it every day. But then I also said to myself, there is no good thing that this universe, God, does not want me to partake in.
Correct.
There is no good thing out there that I feel, if I've had a gumption that I needed, wanted, deserve it, I've never been denied it. And I think, honestly, if we really sit down and think about any of the asks that we've put out there, and I mean we've put out there with an earnest heart and an earnest faith that it would happen.
Yes.
I don't think anybody can ever say they've been denied.
Right.
You may be delayed here and there. There may be some deviations, but even if you didn't get it, when you get to the space of, you always realize, okay, well, it didn't work out this way because this was so much better. I can't figure out or name one situation in my entire life that happened that way. Having a kid so young, 3 children at 19 was a nightmare then. Watching it now, I'm 45, they're 30, 27, and 26. I'm living these full lives with them. And though I thought that I was being denied so many great things, that I was missing out on so much, as I fast forward and now working there, I can think on places that I missed out on being, that I was fortunate in not having been in that space. I can think, I can just make it all make sense. So when I was going through that process, I just recently completed the process. In fact, I think we modified a couple months ago, and they still don't take the foreclosure like off the list until you go through the trial. So I'm still in the trial period. They're like, okay, we're going to see if you mess up again. But you go through that, and it's like, it's tough. It can be humbling, but what it also is a great reminder of just the opportunity that presents itself to try it again. I'm a person who believes that if I can wake up and stand up upright, I'm gonna land on my feet. It's not without tear. I cry in the shower.
Come on, tears.
All the time. All the time I cry in the shower. I cry at night when the lights go off and it's quiet. I do it. And now I'm just freeing myself up a little bit to cry whenever I feel like it. If it feel good, that's the space.
That's
where
it.
I'm at. And that has been so therapeutic. But for me, if I had to give any one person any advice with regard to how do you hold on when it seems like you're losing everything, you just have to move and fall back in a space where I'm gonna let it
I
happen.
love that.
I'm not gonna try to make it happen, and that's kind of it. It works out.
So, ladies taking us to church.
No, I don't want
I
to.
love it. I love it because I say this, and the old people say, just keep on living. When you used to say you didn't understand what they was going through, just keep on living. And so one of the things that I get now is that nothing happened that God does not allow.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not, it could be good, bad, and different. I always say, okay, Lord, it may not look like what I want it to look like,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that's going to be used for my good. So
my grandmother used to say,
you're either teaching me something, you're strengthening me, you're preparing me for the next.
right.
You're steering me away from something that
Exactly
might have been my will and not your will. So look, lady said it best. If you did it once, you can do it again.
My grandmother used to say, in the end, it will all be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. If it's not all okay, it's not the end. I used to get so tired of hearing her and her little sayings. She would be like, all you can do is enough. And, that's going, no, how would she go? She said, all you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. And I'd be like, that just sounds so cliche. You start living and you start trying to figure out how to navigate and overcome certain things. There's only so much you're going to be able to do with your own will and might anyway.
Yes.
You do what you can do here in the natural, but then there are these times where you have to lean into the supernatural and just allow things to happen with the understanding that you're never going to be denied any good thing. And I have seen it. I wish that I have written, and I hope we meet our deadlines, but I published a memoir that is supposed to come out in March.
Oh, can't wait.
I'm excited about it. It's called Woman You Are. And it just takes
congratulations.
Thank you. It takes me through, and so many women through all of the different phases of my life, but from living in a car with those kids, taking them to the fire station because I couldn't take care of them, and deciding that I was going to leave them there, to just working through the process of staying with it, just staying with it and not being so hard on me. I put so much pressure on myself to maintain and keep up with that. And it just was so unnecessary. I meet so many women who don't give themselves enough credit for just being awesome. I mean,
yes,
it sounds commercial and you hear this, but I meet so many women
true.
day to day with skill sets, attributes, vision, the ability to lift and carry, the desire, the good intention, just embedded in who they are to just do extraordinary things. And it's effortless for them.
Yes.
And I think to myself, I'm just like, what kind of magic have I been allowed to just be surrounded by in the company of these women?
Yes.
And a lot of them, I'm seeing that, and they're so like, I need to do this, and I got to go back to school and do this, and I'm gonna need to buy, I need you get another promotion. And when it's not even a lot of times some of the things that they want to do. It's just those, it's just busy work. It is
busy work. It's the pressure and what society, has put on us. Like it's not enough. It's not enough. We definitely don't celebrate ourselves enough. We're not. Taking enough time to look in the mirror at each other and say, look, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you're doing, and keep going, and just giving us that talk.
I hit a milestone. I don't know when it was. I had a rough patch these last 4 years, and it was just, I had so many forces coming up against me, and in my mind it was like push back, fight back, just show people that you aren't a doormat. And then one day it was like an epiphany. It was like, lady, take the path of least resistance. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Just fall back. Now I do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, within the confines of job assignments,
right?
Or you know what I mean. But for the most part, I'm going to look for the path of least resistance, with the understanding that the good things that I'm moving towards are what I'm looking for is looking for me.
Absolutely.
And speaking or saying that just puts me in the mindset of, I've said often with regard to just the general contractor's designation.
Mm-hmm.
And so how few of us there are. Few people of color, first and foremost, but women, every day I'm combing my
Wow.
space, looking for anybody open to the opportunity of exploring what that career path looks like. It's easy. It's obtainable. There's no reason why you shouldn't do it and add it to a supplement. There is so much abundance in the industry right now post the pandemic. This is one of the most fruitful seasons I have ever experienced without having to put any effort. And the only thing that I can think of or say, and the thing that I have been saying the last 4 months, is you don't want to be in this space by yourself. The air breathes so different here
Yes.
with those designations. And if you're any type of woman with any morsel of inclusion attached to you, you want as many of us there as you can. So with that, I say, if there is anybody interested in pursuing that, get with me. I have 33 contractors and subcontractors to my credit that I've either endorsed or helped bring into the fold. And we absolutely need more. And so if there's anybody that decides that, I want to try my hand at this trade, that trade, or general contracting altogether, which kind of oversees all the trades, I'm here for, a mentoring opportunity.
I hope you guys wrote that down and get with Lady.
Please.
Because if not, look, Amelia the Realtor is not scared. So
Listen,
she might be online tonight looking.
Realtors make the best GCs. I'll tell you that. Most of the people who I've met, it's been primarily Hispanic and Caucasian women who are GC realtor combos. But obviously, the real estate industry, you see where it makes sense.
Absolutely.
We're always looking for GCs to get these properties where they need to be. You buy property, you need to close out open expired permits, and you need the licenses anyway, which is one of my businesses. That's all I do is close out and legitimize permits so realtors can move their process along.
Okay.
It's just a whole niche area for us to kind of explore and get into. I promise you, it feels so different. But to be able to have more of us doing it, it would be exciting.
That is good information.
Yes.
So tell me, Lady, because tell me a little bit about BrinMar Construction Group.
I will.
Tell me about even a little bit before you got there, because I know like the day in the life of a GC, like you just said, you're navigating 3 children, so you're a mother, you are a homemaker, all of that, and climbing up the ladder and then establishing your own at the same time. Tell me a little bit about getting from, I can do this on my own, getting to BrinMar, and kind of what your day looks like as a GC.
So I started, the original company was named Dramalities Construction. And prior to my name being Lady, my birth name was Shalandra.
Okay.
But on the license, you present the opportunities to people. It was so discouraging to see people more or less decide whether or not I was worthy of an opportunity just seeing my name on paper. So once I figured that out, contrary to what many believe, I changed the name to be able to support my interest in just branching out and building out. So Lady is an acronym for my children's name and I, Leroy, Anye, Donnell, and I. I legally changed it with all of the entities, DMV, Social Security, IRS, and legally took form as her.
Okay.
Once I did that, it was crazy because whether they saw my applications or not, or I was bidding on something, it was just fruitful. Like it's like the heavens just opened up. And I was like, okay, well, I wasn't altogether wrong about my observation. I was spot on about what I was going to do to cure the issue. It worked perfectly. Past that, I just studied a lot in terms of the trade and what was happening in the field. I was not and am not the GC that's hammer and nail. I made it my point, though, to be ever present on my job site so that I knew if things were going awry. I understood wholeheartedly if people were trying to take advantage of me when it came to material ask, when it came to price gouging me on what jobs should cost.
And does that happen a lot? I know the
It
answer to that, I'm
happened,
sure.
and it don't just happen to women, and it don't just happen to women of color. It just
It's
happened that way in general,
across the board.
right?
Okay.
Like everybody's trying to get over on everybody from the side of building out and producing,
It's a
and
money
you,
game, huh?
yep, and then they usually pass that over to the end user. Um, really bumping my head along the way, trying to figure it out, underbidding jobs,
Mm.
underestimating what my capabilities were, what the capabilities were for the subs that I brought on. Even now, my biggest struggle is system related. I
Okay.
don't have enough systems, I think, that adequately support some of the work, the influx of work I'm getting as of late. But in the beginning, growing and building out certain systems to put me in a position to win was critical. It started out Dramatities. We made the transition, and I changed the name when I changed my name to BrinMar Construction. My father's maiden name, or my father's surname is March. My last name was March. So I essentially took bricks and March, put it together, and I like to play with words and acronyms and everything like that. So that's how that came to be. I started doing a lot of outreach with the SBA and just understanding some of the programming that they had out for women-owned small businesses,
Okay.
economically disadvantaged women-owned small businesses. I started doing some teaching with regard to getting those designations for the SBA. And as I started doing that, I started listening in on some of the requirements relative to just procuring and securing job opportunity with local government, municipal government. Um,
Which that's a big market
it
too. If
is, it
regardless in a
is
lot of different fields
for
in
just. When
general.
you think
Just
about it, the person who sells paper clips to the to
mm-hmm.
the to the government right now is probably a multimillionaire because
Yes.
they sole source that stuff, and they only buy paper clips from. And if you get
Wow.
that contract as
Mm-hmm.
minuscule and as trivial as the concept is of a paperclip, when you supplying all of the paper clips
That's
for
a
the
huge
government,
demand.
you have a lot of work on your hand. There's no end to it. And so understanding that those networks and those systems are out there, that the government is kind of positioned to do work with the average small business, and just putting yourself in a position to be able to present them with the information that they're
Mm-hmm.
asking for and that they need. A lot of times we get so discouraged by the paperwork and the
Right.
daunting task of
Exactly.
assembly and gathering, and we stay what goes on in our house stays on in our house, and we ain't gonna tell nobody our business. And sometimes we can be so secretive and so close to the
We miss
vest,
out.
you miss out on
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity to
Yes.
really change your life. And so while I was kind of taking the company through the metamorphosis of just being out here and saying I had a general contractor's license, I really started putting a lot of my energy and concentration into understanding how I could make the business grow.
Yes.
For a while, probably 10 years into my career, I decided to go work for local government. It was a complete and total disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very tumultuous. But again, like we talked about earlier, what happens to you happens for you.
Yes.
Those experiences there, I got so much publicity. I thought it was a bad thing, but there were just people sitting in the wind waiting for me to maybe part ways. As soon as I
Mm-hmm.
did, because I had another unique designation as a building official, it was like, well, we're private. We have this development going on down here. Can you help work us through getting the And it just became gargantuan. My clients, since going through that process and leaving, I mean, it included Howard Stern, David Yurman, the Pillsbury heiresses, the Quakers. It's like you don't even know where you can where this
Mm-hmm.
line of profession can take you
Mm-hmm.
into so many different spaces. I couldn't even begin to run down a day in the life of a GC for me, because no day is the same.
I was gonna say this earlier when we were chatting, and I didn't, and it's come back around. So I do want to say this because what I have admired about you is that even when all that situation was going on, like you could have reacted in a few different ways. You could have just kind of cowered back and hunkered down and just kind of, all right, I'm just going to go in hiding until all of this, you know what they say, it'll blow over,
Oh,
right?
I heard a lot of
But
that.
what I loved is that you did none of that. You did none of that. You stood in your authentic self, and you continue to be who you are.
Oh.
You didn't buy in until into the for lack of a better term, the pettiness of it all.
Mm-hmm.
You really constructed your words well. You spoke when you knew you needed to, and then that was it. But you didn't get caught up in that. And so I love how you're saying that that whole situation, it's
Takes you to something
right,
beautiful.
because you didn't cower back, it's like, okay, now it's blown over, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
It has propelled you into another level of opportunity
Something I
and
couldn't
open
even
doors.
have. I would not have even imagined or envisioned that one of my largest clients to date would have resulted from them being super inquisitive. They just
Mhm.
got tired of seeing me on the news. They
Mhm.
were like, it's got to be more to this than somebody's saying, because every week is this. And, initially I was like, what could you possibly want? There were days where I
Mhm.
wanted to
Mhm.
cower. There
Mhm.
were times when I just was like, enough already. I can't go no more. But I think having a good support system, I
Mhm.
got some of the best girlfriends. Some of these relationships span 20, 30 years. Some of them are newer, but putting myself in a position to just kind of allow them to engulf me,
Mhm.
support me, and
Mhm.
decide that, okay, I don't care what this looks like and I don't care what the chatter is, we got you.
Yes.
And them really leaning in and being committed to that, that was super, super helpful. We talked briefly off air, but there were, I have that was just a small portion of what I
Mhm.
had going on. At the time I
Mm.
was going through that, I had been diagnosed with uterine cancer. I was going
Wow.
through radiation treatment.
My
My
goodness.
son, as you know, was diagnosed with a mental health disorder.
Mhm.
And so he was spiraling out of control, in and out. And just, I was on a board. I remember having to go to the board that I was serving on and tell them, like, okay, listen, A, I've been arrested. B, I'm being threatened at being arrested again. C, I don't want to misrepresent or bring any backlash to a board that's core mission is so rooted into who I am as an individual on a personal level. So I'm going to step aside. And when they just kind of embraced me and was just like, we've got an opportunity to experience you, your passion, your
Mhm.
advocacy for this cause. We just want to be here when you land upright. Picking and choosing situations and people that will do that type of reinforcement for you was everything,
Yes.
because it could have gone a different way. And I'm human. I get it to a point
Mhm.
sometimes
We have our
where,
breaking points when
yes,
it's like, okay, yeah.
I'm born and
Yeah.
raised right here. So there's never any shortage of me having something to say. But sometimes, you have to just show people what you can do, who you are. And you have to pick a struggle. And
Yes.
my struggle
Yes.
wasn't going to be addressing them when I knew I needed to put good energy into ensuring I made sure my son was good.
Mhm.
I really do want to leave. Well, I take that back. I don't want to leave a legacy from the standpoint of leaving a lot of money for my kids. I want to arm them with the tools to be able to establish their own legacy. I want to spend
Absolutely.
all my money,
A-
and I want to, I put some insurance in place. I keep that, and that'll be that. But I want to be clear that that's not
Yes.
my approach. But
Yes.
what I did want to, impart inside of them was, listen, everything ain't gonna be peaches and
Nope.
cream. Everybody ain't gonna like you, and you ain't gonna be for everybody. But do your best, show up, make a difference where you can, and then just fall back and let life happen.
Mhm.
So many people disagree with that approach. Yo, you gotta make it happen. You gotta make it happen. There's only so much that you're gonna be able to do anyway,
Right. Right.
And I just want to, this pandemic has really pushed a lot of us over the edge.
Yes.
I don't want to, people are here today and they're gone the very same
Mhm.
day.
So
I don't
true.
want to spend, the time that I have not being appreciative of and not taking in what's happening around me.
Mm-hmm.
Things like today, being able to just have candid conversation about what goes right, but all of the stuff that
Yes.
goes wrong. It's a real experience. And I don't think we put enough effort and time into just putting ourselves in a space where we can do this. It's always work. It's always grind.
Right.
It's no play. It's no. No, I don't like that.
And I think at the end of the day, too, is, all of our experiences, it's not just for us.
Right.
It's for someone else. And
Absolutely.
the more we do have situations like this, time where we are sharing it, we can just be and be able to share the fruit from these situations. It's making someone else better. It's helping someone know something that they did not know. It's growing them. It may be giving them hope, knowing that they can come out of maybe something that they're facing.
Absolutely.
Giving someone resources. It's so much. So it is awesome.
It's beautiful for you to have had even the vision, because to your point, growing somebody else is in fact growing yourself. You know what I mean? And so much of how we make our living is tied to currency, but currency isn't always money.
No, it's not.
You start investing in people and you start thinking enough about people when they haven't even made consideration for themselves about putting forth education to show them how to just catapult themselves forward. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a testament to you. It's a testament to the vision, and it's a testament to what I was saying earlier. The universe is always rooting for us to win, and it's going to find a way. It's going to find a conduit to get people the information they need.
Absolutely. And I'm here too because of someone else's vision.
Yes.
And what they saw,
and
even
it's
within
beautiful here.
Within me,
Wow.
that I probably don't even know I saw in myself at that time.
Really?
So it is definitely, it's like a snowball effect.
It's
like
a circle cycle too.
Yes. So I have to say this. So
listen.
because it's just been so many great nuggets here today. So I definitely have to tap into your knowledge on the job knowledge that you have. So we know with home buying, you have, people may want to buy new construction. New construction may not be everybody's pocketbook, right? It may be a pre-loved home. It may be a home that is a little bit past pre-love, needs some renovations. On the side of that, when I have a homeowner that's going into a property, what are some of the what would you recommend? Like you say, okay, you see all of this, but these are the things definitely take a look at. Is it cracks in the ceiling, foundation, electrical? What are just a few of those things where you're saying, hey, like, don't miss these things?
So, one of the things that I like about purchasing a home is the contract done right gives you the opportunity to work yourself out of it. But you've got to be diligent. You've got to have a great realtor who is affixed to timelines and who is paying attention. You can put your offer in on just about anything. But you want to make sure that you're within those constraints so that you can do your inspections and whatnot. I tell everybody that purchases a home, that initial $350 that you're going to spend for a home inspection is the best $350 you are going to spend. Obviously, you're going to only want to do that a few times, once. If it's right. You know what I mean? But you don't do that until you have the contract on the home and you have decided that this is the one you want to go for. With that being said, the home inspector who you choose is critical to how your process moves forward with regard to the structure of the house. I love to use this company. I don't know if we're allowed to tout them, but it's Black-owned home inspecting firm, Marvelous Homes.
Okay.
Marvin is absolutely amazing. I think he's a school teacher by day, but he's a home inspector by night. I've not met a more thorough, more well-versed home inspector professional. The reports that they provide are so very comprehensive. The layperson can read them, and it is an end all be all to what you should expect with that particular
good
structure.
Home inspector.
Good home inspectors are your best friend. He primarily services the Palm Beach County and Martin, St. Lucie County area, but there are tons of them going back towards Broward and Miami that are equally as good as well. The other thing that I would say is, you know, I think you know the house when you get in the house.
Mhm.
A lot of people have told me that they've purchased homes that they didn't feel good about, but that is few and far between. The reality is everybody that I've worked for, they've seen the house and they've known it. Lean in to that. Because typically that's something that you're going to want to invest in. It's something that you're going to take care of. It's something that you're going to work diligently to hold on to. And there you go. The last thing that I would say is if you guys are purchasing homes and you're noticing, or someone has brought to your attention that the house isn't outfitted in such a way that it meets the hurricane standards, talk to the sellers about making provisions to allow you to purchase the home in such a way, or either give you credits to make the adjustments to the home that would include you being able to at least buy shutters if those windows and doors aren't hurricane impact. But hurricane impact windows and doors is something that you should always try to secure when you're getting the home purchased and under your belt. The other things you can kind of work with, but the windows and doors and then the life of your roof are probably your most important boxes to check with regard to a home purchase.
Windows, doors, roofs.
And roof. Yeah. Electric plumbing, you can kind of get your handyman when you get in and work through, but the envelope of the house, that's what we call it, the parts of the house that will keep you safe from the exterior, the elements, those are the things that you want to ensure are in tip-top shape, or at least you're within reach of getting them into tip-top shape once you acquired once you acquired a home as your own.
So, myth or fact?
Okay.
I'm buying a new construction home. Let's say I'm buying a new construction home. I'm picking out all my bells and whistles. Like once I get in, it's going to be tip-top shape, good to go. Nothing's going to be wrong. Myth or fact?
Myth. I bought a home and right now they're having lotto like bidding wars. People are sleeping outside to get these lots out in Westlake.
I literally heard a coworker talking about that to another coworker today at the coffee area.
Really? Yes. I feel so bad because I'm like, what has happened? I built out my house and it's only, they're beautiful homes. Let me say
absolutely.
This. But you have tradesmen doing the work. Human error is human error. And I did not go in periodically and check every nook and corner because at that time, I do it for a living and I was overseeing home inspections and everything else for municipal government. The last thing I wanted to do is inspect anything. We get in my house and I'm laying down one day and I'm looking at the crack ceiling, and the perimeter of the of the tray ceiling, there's a crack, hairline crack going all the way around.
Wow.
How and what that is attested to other than the fact that they didn't let the mud dry, and it's crazy. I go back and I look in the kitchen and just slightly I know that they didn't use a level to level the island. So that just because I know what I'm looking at, the island is kind of on an angle a little bit. It's not exactly straight. Stuff that would drive me crazy. It's definitely a myth. You're going to find something, but the trick is to be so in love with your house that the small things like that don't deter you.
Okay.
Yes. Definitely a myth.
But that probably bothers the heck out of you.
Listen, every time I have bought, so my centerpiece is this large orchid. And I keep her, I talk to, it's crazy. I talk to this orchid. I've grown her to be something amazing. But I have her angled so that my eye won't catch. But I am Virgo first and foremost and very OCD when it comes
with the details.
With the details. So
okay.
Somebody, my husband would say to me sometimes, I don't see what you're talking about. And I'm like, I'm not even going to go get the level because I can tell you it's crooked. And if I confirm it, I'm upset. But I'm 4 years in now. So what am I gonna do?
Right. It's just like that.
Yeah.
That's just how it's gonna be.
This is just the way it's gonna be. Everybody else thinks I'm crazy, but yeah, it's myth. You'll find something, but make sure the goal again is to lean into the fact that there's more right with your new home purchase than there is wrong.
Absolutely. And stay plugged into the process.
Yes.
Like don't just Look, you come do your walk through, see
Walk
what's going
through.
on, show up when you
I skipped
can,
mine, so there you go.
so all of that, you can kind of catch some of those things, like, where it could be fixed and done. So just, enjoy the process. That's the fun part
I
about
think
it
that's
all.
a great set
Yeah.
of advice.
Yeah. So you're working on a project, and remind me, is it either Delray or Pompano?
Pompano.
Pompano. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So that happened to be the developer who had a wife who he said was super feisty. And I guess how whatever was going on up here got to down there, I don't know, but she started following me. And then her daughter started following her and they were tuning in. And they were going to develop this project. And I think they were just like, you know what, let's reach out. We don't have a contractor for this job. It's in Pompano. It's in an area of Pompano that is in a marginalized area.
Okay.
They wanted to build workforce housing. It's 41 units, beautiful 4-story group of buildings that they're going to put together. And I got a call one day saying, can you meet up? And I'm like, who are you and where have you come from? Got to talking. We met several times. And ultimately, they wanted somebody to help navigate them through the process. And I guess after they kind of felt me out for a while, then they asked me, to come on board and to be the contractor for the project. I'm super, super excited about that. And so, again, what happens to you happens
That's
for you.
great.
It happened in Pahokee. We actually just had a terrible code enforcement raid for the property. But when I was working in Revere, I was so just distraught and disgusted at the manner in which the Stony Brooks property was being handled. I met a lot of
Yes.
resistance for some of my decisions relative to that. And Pahokee has a similar issue right now. And that developer or owner of that property contacted me as well and was like, can we do some restorative? Can we remediate this building
That's
and salvage
awesome.
it? So again, work just started to flow when I decided, okay, I'm going to take the path of least resistance, and it's been amazing. So I'm excited about Pompano.
That's awesome.
Excited
When
about
is
Pahokee.
Pompano coming on the market?
Pompano,
When is
we are
that?
still waiting on permits,
Okay.
but the goal is that we will probably break ground in I would like to say July.
Okay.
It's going to take 10 to 13 months to construct, and then they'll start taking applications for residency.
That's awesome. That's
Yes.
awesome. So
Yes.
I'm gonna be in contact, because definitely I'm gonna want to come and tour that, because
Yes, please.
I saw the markup that you placed on
Yes,
social
that's
media, and
that's
it is
their
beautiful.
markup. They
It's
are
beautiful.
super excited. They put a lot of work into that. I don't think the rents are affordable, but in comparison to what's going on now, it looks like they're starting at a base rate of $1,800 for what I believe will be very, very beautiful units when it's all said and done. And so their target is workforce housing. I'm not sure if at the rate. I don't know where the wages align with the rents and everything, but it seems like the going price for units configured that at that size. So yeah, when it's done, I'll definitely reach out so you could.
Please.
And even while we're doing it, you come out to
Okay.
the job site and take a look. See, I think there'll
Awesome.
be a lot of interesting stuff happening.
That is
undoubtedly.
awesome. That's awesome.
Right.
Well, I have definitely enjoyed this conversation
here.
so
Same
much.
here.
It just really goes to show that, a couple things, don't believe everything you read. Though the people that you're reading about, like they have lives. They have
Whole ones.
whole things going on in their lives outside of this little snippet that the media tries to portray them. And so I'm so thankful that you're here. Thank you for
having
sharing
me.
your story, and just who you are. And listen, 9%, 3.3, part of 3.4%.
I'm gonna go
Like,
home
come
now
on,
and play
like,
with the math.
it's
I don't even know what that looks
crazy.
like.
It's crazy, and I can't. I didn't quote my source, so I'm sorry, but it was online, because I wanted to make sure that I had the stats, because I do know that this is a very selective field. And so thank you for saying yes to the assignment.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know. You just gotta do what you can while you can.
Absolutely. And don't forget Happily Ever Sold crew. Lady said that there are jobs out there. She's looking for women, wonderful, beautiful women that's going to accept the assignment and come on and be willing to be mentored and learn and grow
Absolutely.
in this field. So take her up on that offer. And listen, it has just, again, like I said, I bring the experts to you. So we thank you so much, lady.
Thank
We wish
you.
you much success and that
Thank you.
BrinMar Construction Group will continue to grow and flourish. And listen, we can't wait to see what's next.
Oh gosh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
That's another edition of Happily Ever Sold. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time. I am Amelia the Realtor, and welcome to Happily Ever Sold. This is where we talk all things real estate.